YouTube, how's it going? Another video coming at you from Decardo Gaming. What's going on? We are still doing our Disney animated film era. So I've already done Golden Age, skipped over Wartime, and done Silver. Today, we're going to do Bronze Age, which consists of the Aristocats, Fox and the Hound, Robin Hood, um, the Black Cauldron, Winnie the Pooh, the Great Mouse Detective, Rescuers, and Oliver and Company. Okay, so a little bit of rules. So here's a list of them, a little bit better image. So a little bit of rules for this. I don't go off of how much money they've made. I don't go off of any other metric. Now, I may use some of those to kind of explain my answer. This is mainly my opinion. I'll take some things in consideration, some things I will not. So without further ado, let's get into this. So the worst Disney movie in this era is, I have to say, Winnie the Pooh. Okay? Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Winnie the Pooh in general. I mean, I don't dislike it. I don't think Winnie the Pooh is like a bad thing. Um, but I'm not the biggest fan of Winnie the Pooh, the animated movie. I just don't think, and I've never liked the show either. So I'm not the hugest fan of that in a general sense. So when it comes to Winnie the Pooh, the animated movie, for me, it's not a movie that I like to watch, that I enjoy watching. I do think the characters are good. I think my wife would be one that would like it more. I think the characters to me all, and this is like a weird film theory, and it's probably what turned me off of them, to be honest with you. There's all different signs of some form of like mental illness or something like that. Um, and I'm not gonna get too much into that movie. It's not one of my favorites. It's number 8 on my list. It's probably one of my least favorite Disney movies ever. So that being said, number 7 is the Black Cauldron. Black Cauldron to me, not the best movie. Um, I think if this is one that needs redone so people can really appreciate what it is. But I just don't think they had the technology to do the movie on the scale they needed to do it back then. They still tried to do hand drawn. They still had to do everything in the old school Disney animation style, and that works for most movies. I don't think it works for a movie you want to have like a scaled up when it comes to like having an army and showing off those kind of things. I think I think you have to have. I think you have to have. Oh man, I can't freaking think. Yeah, I think you have to have a much better way of doing that. For example, if I jump to a different era right now, Mulan, when they did like the Hun charge, they CGI'd in a lot of the Hun charge to make it a grander, to scale up what was going on in the movie. And I think that's smart. I think that's a better way to do it. I think that's definitely the best way to do it because you're trying to show you're trying to really show the real horror that the characters in the movie are going through. So I think that this is a movie that I'm not like cheering for remakes. I'm not one of those people, but I do think this is a movie that actually could benefit heavily from a remake because I think it has a good story to tell, but I just don't think the animation style at the time was in the greatest spot to help with it. So that's just my opinion on it. And it's actually kind of short for a movie that feels like it drags. It just doesn't go fast enough. I think it's got some nice characters. I think it's got some good ideas. They just never went anywhere with it. So, number 6 is The Fox and the Hound. Fox and the Hound to me, it's actually a movie I remember watching a good bit as a kid. I think the idea is good. I think there's some pretty funny characters like the birds that hang out around and then migrate in the winter. And then so the dogs are good. You got Copper, and then obviously you got Todd the fox, and then you got I can't remember the other dog's name, the older dog's name. But I think it's got some good characters. I think the guy's name it's like Sarge or something like that, or Cat or something. It's like a military. It's that old iconic. I can't think of the guy's name. It's an actor. He has like an iconic like raspy voice, and he plays in that, and he also plays in Aristocats, I believe. And he has like a voice, and yeah, and that's not a bad movie. It's definitely one of the better Disney movies that they have in this era. Now I'm going to say something. They say this is the dark age of Disney. I don't think there's bad movies in here. Like one of the top movies in this is one of my favorite Disney movies ever made. And I have a friend of mine, one of his top is like my number 3 on the list. And I think there's a lot of good stuff that happened in this movie. I think that people get too picky when it comes to animation style? Sure. Do they get too picky looking at? I think Disney went through a change when it came to like leadership in this era, and that's kind of the byproduct of it. So like one of these movies, and I'm trying to think which one it is or one of the movies from, was it from this one? I think it was from this one. I think it's Robin Hood, I think is what it was like right in the middle, smack dab in the middle of this Renaissance. Let me just double check something. I think Sword in the Stone might have been one that like bounces in between these. I think some people say Sword in the Stone sometimes should go in the Bronze Age, but I'm going to stick with what it is. I think Robin Hood was one that should have been in the other era. Because I think The Fox and the Hound is a pretty good movie. I think it's entertaining enough for kids to watch, and I remember it very well. The Rescuers is another good one. Now, what's weird about The Rescuers is they waited forever to make a sequel on this movie. I thought this movie was made in the 80s, to be honest. When I was a kid, I thought this movie was made in like the really, really late 80s. But I don't think it was. I think it was made. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. I think this movie was made. I think the last movie in this list was The Great Mouse Detective. When it comes, or Oliver and Company might have been later. But The Rescuers was, I think it's actually in chronological order here. So let's check what I just said. Rescuers was a good movie. It's about two mice that are rescuing a girl who's somehow kidnapped. I don't remember. I don't think she was an orphan. The seagull or the albatross is actually pretty funny. The villain's very good. Now, one thing I will say about this movie, there's not a lot of iconic villains in this section. In this one, there's a lot of villains, but they're meh. They're not very memorable. So if I look at the ones already, so if you look at the Winnie the Pooh, not really a villain in that. Black Cauldron, I think it's called the Horned King. Not that memorable. I mean, he's kind of terrifying. I'm sure they can make him very terrifying if they remade it. Fox and the Hound, what's really the villain? Is it the guy who hunts? Because he's actually just not a horrible person. It's just he's into hunting. Is it the bear that they encounter when they're in the woods, whenever they're a little bit grown up? I don't know. I'm not sure. So I don't think in the Rescuers, like their villain here, I just don't think there's not like an iconic villain in this one. And if I go like through the next couple, there's not really an iconic villain in them either. Maybe the butler from Aristocats, but that's it. So Rescuers was number 5 on my list. Number 4 is Aristocats. Aristocats is a very funny movie. Like I said, has a lot of good characters. I think, like I said, the guy I think played Little John, and I think he played Baloo, played the voice of O'Malley as well. I think he did. I may be wrong. Someone probably correct me, but that's my thought process. I think that's it. But there's a lot of characters in this, a lot of good funny moments. And I think it's pretty good. And a lot of, the video I'll watch, if you don't know the reason I'll wait these videos, is because I watched another video, and the person was, complaining about all the scratchy animation. I mean, look at the animation everywhere back then, back in the 70s and 80s. These weren't times where, animation was, peaked. Okay, they was coming into some new things, and they were trying new things out. That's what it was. And I think they came out with some pretty good products in the process. Aristocats, like I said, it's not my favorite. By a long shot, not my favorite Disney movie, but I think it's up there on this list at number 4. Number 3 is actually one of my friend's favorite Disney animated movies. It's on this list as number 3 is Oliver and Company. This is when Disney actually started understanding and trying to take some risks in getting real actors and real singers to do things in movies. I don't remember the cast off the top of my head. I think Tina Turner played one of the dogs. They actually started getting people who were really good singers and really actors and stuff, and they started doing these things from here on out, playing iconic characters. They started getting real singers in there. I think Billy Joel was in this. I'm going to actually Google that on my phone really quick. Singing casts of Oliver and Company. So if you don't know this movie, it's about a little cat gets lost, and is a stray or whatever, and then like a human finds her, and he makes a lot of friends. So like for example, Joey Lawrence, which is the little cat, is Oliver. Um, but then you have so let me just open this up real quick. You have a lot of voices in here that are okay. Like I think Cheech or Chong, I think one of those two, plays the voice of one of these characters. And I'm not saying he's like iconic or anything, but cast, there we go. So a bunch of these characters are played by, like Billy Joel played the voice of Dodger, singing voice, or the regular voice. Tito was Cheech Marin, I guess. Richard Mulligan, I don't know who that is. Roscoe Lee Brown, Francis. But then, like, what's the singing voice? Singing. I'm pretty sure, like, Tina Turner was involved in this. It just keeps saying voices, but it's not singing voice. I'm not gonna worry about it. But there, like I was saying, there's a lot of good voice. Dom DeLuise was in this. It started actually getting real, like Sykes. Okay, so Robert Loggia, I've seen him in a lot of things. So there's a handful of like actors and like singers and stuff like that got into this movie, and this is when Disney, I think, started actually realizing some things. That people like really good singers, people like hearing iconic voices, and Oliver and Company was a really good platform for that. I've got 11 minutes on the Dark Age. Okay, so I need to continue on this movie. Okay, so the next one is Robin Hood. Robin Hood to me is one of the better movies. It's very funny. It's got a good cast of characters. I think the way they played off all the characters being different, being different animals. They actually have there's a lot of similarity to this in the Jungle Book. There's like a fight. There's like certain scenes that happen at a certain time in the movie at the same exact time. And I think characters just carried over. The voice of the snake's the same. Baloo on this, on Jungle Book is the same as Little John in this one. So on and so forth. And there's just a lot of, I think it's a really good movie. I think there's a lot of voice work that's recognizable. I think a lot the animation to me didn't feel bad. I think for doing a Robin Hood movie, I think it's the one that felt the most like Robin Hood like. Is it to the story of what Robin Hood really is? Hell no. But it's actually, to me, it's one of the better ones. And number one, which I think is one of the best Disney movies actually ever made, is The Great Mouse Detective. Great Mouse Detective is by far, to me, the best movie in this whole group by far. Iconic character Basil, and you have the little mouse. It's not Basil. I think it's supposed to be like a Watson. So you have a lot of things going on in this movie. The bat's really freaking funny. Toby's the big dog. There's a lot of great things about this movie, and there's a video by a channel, and I will give this channel a shout out, called Super Carlin Brothers. It's called The Mouse That Saved Disney, and it's not about Mickey. Disney was on like the Dark Age and was about the animation studio was about to fold, and then this one kind of revitalized it. And I still this day I love watching these movies. I think The Great Mouse Detective is by far one of the best movies they've ever put out, much less the best movie they put out in this era. So to reiterate my ranking, Winnie the Pooh is last at number 8. The Black Cauldron is number 7. Number 6 is The Fox and the Hound. Number 5 is The Rescuers. Number 4 is Aristocats. Oliver and Company is number 3. Robin Hood's number 2. And The Great Mouse Detective is number 1. So I want to thank everyone for watching. Please hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the like button. And comment down below what's your favorite movie of this era. Do I have it right? Or do you think it should be a different movie? Like I said, my best friend thinks that Oliver and Company is the best one. And I think of this era, my wife likes Winnie the Pooh the most. But let me know what you think down below in the comments section. Have a good one. See ya.